Now, let's talk about the 5090. The 5090, 21,000 cores, possibly even more. It's rumored to go all the way up to 25K. So the same thing that right now would take me 2 minutes and 42 seconds a frame would only take 40-something seconds a frame, in theory. But more importantly, it's going to run Grand Theft Auto 6. With Effectatron C4D Redshift tutorial. Hey, what's up, my dear Kirk of Effectatron? Get to me every time. You get stuck in your head. Bits and bytes. So silly. AI, music. It's the future, right? I don't know. Anyway, it's better than I can do. All right, so today we're going to talk about the Kitbash challenge, which is a huge, cool thing with a lot of really new things, and how I'm going to actually do that in both C4D and Unreal Engine 5. Traitor! That's right. I'm going to dive in and finally take the dive and learn Unreal Engine 5, and I'm going to do it in a few weeks, and I'm going to make something for this, and we're going to see what it is, and I'll tell you my experience of what it's like using UE5 versus C4D, and, you know, whether I'm going to continue to use it or not. And honestly, I'm probably thinking I'm probably going to enjoy it. We're going to talk about how to connect a node to a bunch of different nodes all at once simultaneously, so you don't have to sit there and connect. You can just go boop, boop. All right. And then we're going to talk about how I created this cute AI Meshy Corgi. We're going to use the AI Meshy, bring it in, fix it up, and then how to use Redshift Hair with a diffuse material, because it's not exactly that clear. Okay, and then on top of that, we're going to cover the new City Rig 2.1 with the new Redshift update and literally create an entire city within 5 minutes. It's amazing. Okay, and then on top of that, we're going to have a vote between what we're going to learn next, what you want to see next in the next Bits and Bytes, whether you want to learn this cool animate grass that I made, or if you want to learn how to make actual rain that hits your objects and splashes. I also want to showcase some community art. One person in particular is Leo Torres, who just makes the most amazing stuff and maybe really the hugest contributor to why I want to learn Unreal Engine 5, because he makes beautiful landscapes and they're awesome. On top of that, we're going to talk about the 5090s, the new GPUs that are coming out, when they're coming out, what their specs are going to be like. Ooh, man, how much is it going to hurt your wallet and give you FOMO? Okay, so yeah, let's talk about all of that stuff and more. Let's get started. First off, I want to say big thank you to all my patrons. Patrons get access to exclusive tutorials, project files, downloads, and ad-free tutorials of longer length. Check that out, as well as the Mind and Motion Workshop. Definitely check that out. Okay, first up, the Kitbash challenge, the secrets of the Luminara. I don't know. It's really cool. They've got new kits on cargo. They've got some really cool animations showcased there. But the main thing is the kit is free. You can download that. It's not probably as super cool as the Lunar kit, but it is really cool. It's a bunch of ancient temple stuff. As you can see here in these renders, it does look really cool. So there's 3 categories you can compete in: concept art, in motion, and game submission. Obviously, if you're going to use C4D, you're going to want to do in motion and or concept art, which is very cool. They also have some tutorials and judges. This guy's name is Sparth. I've never heard anyone named Sparth. That's it. It's like Share. Just one name. Basically, each category has its own prize pool. The animation category, you can get a Ryzen RX 7900 XT. You can get a laptop. You can get a capture glove. Big thing for everybody. Max on 1 annual subscription. So that's a pretty hefty prize. Adobe Substance Collection, which, by the way, Adobe Substance is awesome. We'll do a spotlight on that whenever I fully commit to buying that. I had it and then refunded it. It's a whole thing. Anyway, so they've got a couple tutorials you can use. I'm probably going to watch this one about Unreal Engine. They actually have some pretty cool ones from Unreal Engine Fortnite, in case you want to do that, which is pretty crazy that you can do that kind of thing. But yeah, you can watch the cinematic here. There's a link for it below, and you can actually, it's pretty awesome looking. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Some very cool models I've just quickly thrown in here to kind of show off the scale and scope of these and stuff. And they're pretty cool. They just drop in. Basically, you just open up cargo, and they're going to be right there. We've got a cargo plane, a blimp airship, and then you just select it. and you go ahead and choose your texture size and where you want to send it to, just to set that up. Yep, there it is, the kit. It's going to be free. So you can just click those and then download and then hit import. Once they're done, we can bring in this airplane, and it just is going to connect in. Once we go to extensions and go to cargo and use Redshift Legacy, that's going to be the easiest, and then convert that with the material converter. Honestly, it's the easiest thing to do. But yeah, that's probably the way I would go about doing it when you're using Redshift. And then on top of that, you may be curious, okay, well, I'm a Mac user. Can I use Kitbash Cargo? Yes, Mac actually is supported now on Kitbash Cargo for Blender, Unreal Engine, and Cinema 4D. So, okay, so pretty cool. We've got all the stuff. Here's our cargo plane we just brought in. Let's see. Let's zoom out a bit. Bring it up. There it is. Now, one thing I would say is a lot of times when things come in, a little sandstorm. All right. You know, we could give it a little sandstorm vibe. Yeah, but pretty cool. And I'll let you know again how I like working in Unreal Engine versus Cinema 4D for this project. Okay. All right, so I'm going to quickly show you how to connect a node into multiple nodes all at once simultaneously. So for example, we have our hex tile coordinate OSL shader node here, which is great for landscapes and materials that you don't want to loop and pattern and you need to like repeat a bunch, but you don't want it to look like little tiles. Because if we came in here and made all these like 40 and 40, obviously you're going to see that repetition very clearly and quickly, and it's going to look like old video game stuff, right? So we don't want to do that. What we can do is we want to choose this hex tile, set it up, which I have a tutorial on, and we want to plug it into all of these in the offset. But rather than going from offset to this, going down, general image, UV remap, offset, and then going down and doing that for each of these, you can just undo that, select everything that you want to put it into, and just scroll down and click the little circle right next to where you're going to plug it into. You can barely tell, but it highlights ever so slightly to indicate that it can be clicked. Click that and go to connect nodes, existing nodes, and you can plug in whatever you want and say hex tile coordinates, boop, it plugs it into all four all at once. There we go. So now with this setup, we have that same sort of high density of repetitions, but without the grid. Very cool tool, and that selecting all those and plugging it in makes things very easy if you want to have something to control multiple nodes and values across multiple nodes very quickly and easily rather than plugging in a bunch of stuff. So hopefully that's helpful. All right, now we're going to talk about the new 50 series GPUs, Nvidia's 5090s rumors, when it's going to come out, how powerful and faster it's going to be, how much is it going to hurt your wallet, and how much FOMO is it going to give you. Okay, the last two, it's a lot if the answer is both of those. So basically what we're talking about is, let's just go ahead and double check the 3090, which is what I use. The two things that are most important when using C4D and using Redshift to render are the CUDA cores, which basically determine the speed overall, or the rendering power of how Redshift works. So CUDA cores are important. 10,000 for a 3090. Secondly, the VRAM storage is very important as long as the bridge material is there. So basically, if you have a 3060, you just don't bother with anything that's just a 3060, okay, or a 4060. VRAM is the most important, which is going to be your memory config, and I've got 24 gigs on GDDR6, which is good. 24 is great. Things like fire sims, running multiple apps at once, any kind of simulation or anything, having more VRAM is great for that. It basically, whenever you get that weird error where it's like Redshift has crashed, it's encountered an unexpected error, especially when using Pyro, almost always it's a memory issue. And so having more VRAM is going to solve that. It's not a RAM problem, it's a VRAM problem, okay? So 3090s, 10,000. Let's talk about the 4090s, okay? Let's go ahead and make myself jealous. The 4090s have 16,000 CUDA cores. I don't know, 150%, so basically should be that much faster. It also has 24 gigs of RAM, which is good, and GDDR6 with a higher bus width, which means it can go faster. So, you're talking at 150% increase in speed. On top of that, you also just have, it's just faster overall, right? So render time wise, if we check that out on the Redshift 4090 benchmark, All right, so if we check that out on the benchmark just for practical application of what we're talking about here, rendering a scene with a 3090 took 2 minutes and 42 seconds. Rendering that same scene, same settings with a 4090 took 1 minute and 16 seconds. That is twice as fast, right? So even though it's just 150% the CUDA cores, it is over 200% faster. Okay, so we've got 1600 for that. Now let's talk about the 5090. The 5090, I don't know why I'm so like talk like YouTuber about this, but I am. Okay, 21,000 cores, possibly even more. It's rumored to go all the way up to 25K. I don't know. It's got a new memory type, GDDR7, which probably means you're going to need to build a new computer to utilize that with a new motherboard. But that's okay, right? 32 gigs of VRAM, so even more VRAM and twice the bus width of the 3090, basically, right? Or not twice, but just bigger. So overall, everything about it is faster. So if going up 6,000 doubled your time from the 3090, so we're going to go up basically another 6,000 from the 4090. So basically, if that same scene in theory would take, I mean, basically 2 4090s, right? Let's see, what's 2 4090s? 47 seconds. So the same scene that right now would take me 2 minutes and 42 seconds a frame would only take 40-something seconds a frame, in theory. But more importantly, it's going to run Grand Theft Auto 6 with ray tracing and path tracing on. So really, that's, I'm sold right there, right? Okay. So yeah. So as of now, the rumor is February. The price, honestly, is probably going to be about what they normally are, probably 1,600 for the Founders Edition that you can't even get because all the bots are going to snag those up. But probably around 2,000 or something for actual people to actually get their hands on it, unless you go through a third-party program where you get it built into a computer. So chances are that's probably what I'm going to have to do. Okay. All right. So yeah, pretty cool. I love tech stuff. I don't know why I was so intense about it, but let me know. Pretty cool, right? You see this cool cityscape here? What if I told you could make that in less than a minute? That's what I'm talking about. This is the City Rig 2.1. You saw me in the last episode of Bits and Bytes. I talked about Floor Noir's building generator. Now we're talking about City Rig 2.0. He has updated it with Redshift friendly. It is now ready. I made this city in seconds, not minutes, not hours, seconds. With cars on the streets, everything is completely procedural and controllable. You can even change the assets that you're using. Everything is customizable, the color of the buildings, all the materials, every single bit can be controlled if you want, or you can just let it do it for you, which is awesome. So let's just go ahead and talk about controlling this really quickly and setting it up. Now, I've tweaked the lighting and stuff a little bit in here to give it kind of a foggy city vibe, but overall, it's good to go and Redshift ready, which is awesome. So let's just talk about what we have here in our setup. Basically, what we could do is come in here and select all of our tags here and clear that out, and that's going to clear out this plane. Basically, you're given a plane here, and each of these little squares represents what you can build. So you've got buildings, you've got high-res buildings, which are going to be ones you're going to want closer to the camera, streets, small streets, big curves, parks, and rivers. Yes, rivers. So basically what you do if you want to draw on this is you can come in here, double-click your buildings, and choose a brush. And if you say a big brush, it's going to make bigger buildings. You do a smaller brush, hold Control of your middle mouse button, and select a smaller group. It's going to make smaller buildings, and then even smaller selection, it's going to make even littler buildings. So, but you can connect them and make like a big chunk, and that's going to make bigger buildings. A really big chunk is going to make really big buildings, boom, like that, right? And let's say you don't like how big that is, so you want to come in here and hold Control and just unclick that, and then shrink this down, and just make some small little selections. Instead, again, hold Control, maybe click some of these out, and then hold Shift and select those back to put in those small buildings. Sprinkle them in there and just do it like that. And then you could say, I want a road, just double click your road like this and choose a rectangle. And let's go to the top view here. And we're just going to select a strip here. Boop. And we'll do a strip through our buildings, and we'll do one that's like that. Boop. And we'll go ahead and take a look at what that's created. And you can see it's instantly replaced all of our buildings with this road. So now, if you want to do like a VJ loop or something, you just want to have a car driving down the street with some buildings, you can come in here, you can turn off the cars and stuff if you want. But let's just take a look at what this looks like. Just straight shot down our city street. There you go. Just like that. You've got a city street you could use. Obviously, you can adjust that, tweak it, change it, and add more detail and customize the buildings, swap them all out, do whatever. You can even come in here. Let's turn this off. And if you want, you can just come in here and set it to randomly generate that and just click that on. And it's just going to fill that out. And you can just change the seed. It'll change out the seed for the layout. There we go. And if you want the buildings to be different, the buildings have their own seed that you can adjust as well. Building seed 15. There you go. And just like that. And then you can adjust the color of the buildings. You can do a color profile of the buildings. You can adjust everything and manually, the textures, how many street assets, what cars are going to be used, how big it is. If we want like a narrower city, we could just say 5 there. Boom, there we go. Just like that. If we want to do big, we can go 20 and 20. There we go. Zoom in here a little bit. Tilt up. We've got a full city here. I'll go ahead and render on that. There you go. I mean, just like that, you've got this really cool cityscape. Let's pull our fog back ever so slightly. Pull back the scattering of that. Excuse me. And we can bring this down to like that. There you go. And if you get these weird gaps where buildings should be, but they're not showing up, all you have to do is go to your city rig and change it from render instance to instance. It will take longer to render, but it will fill all those holes so you don't have those weird gaps in there. But there you go. City rig 2.1. There's a link below. Again, I'm not affiliated with it or anything. I just think it's amazing. So if you do cities and stuff, yeah, it does take a lot longer with the instances, but it does fill in those gaps. So if you notice those little gaps, just switch the buildings to instance and you should be good to go. All right, let's take a look at Leo Torres' stuff. Just some of his stuff, like he does a lot of Skyrim stuff where he's rebuilt Skyrim. We'll take a look at one that's not Skyrim. It's just a virtual base camp. But you can see here, I mean, it's incredible. I don't know if I need to talk over this. Like, is that I'm going to get flagged? But you can just see, like, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Let's take a look at another. I just want to showcase some stuff real quick. I don't want to, like, steal his content, so definitely check it out. But look at that. He goes through Riften. If you ever played Skyrim, I mean, you probably have if you're into 3D, just being honest. Beautiful. So amazing. So much detail and everything. And this is what I want to do. Like, this is so like something of this size and scope with this many things like that. It just seems out of reach with C40 versus Unreal Engine. And that's kind of why I want to learn it. So Leo Torres, check it out. His stuff's inspiring. Okay, lastly, we're going to go really quick into just an AI workflow for ideas in case you want to figure that out and talk about the Redshift Hair and some weird issues with it and stuff like that. So I created this cute little plush Corgi. Basically, I just went into Krea, which is free, Krea.ai. I typed in like cute plush Corgi. I'm trying like log and LUT. I have found that it's best practice to do a background of, you can choose your background color of like a gray and mid-gray to get more flat lighting, which is going to be important when you do your image to 3D. Because like basically the way this works is I had my Corgi, which was this little guy right here. And so I got that, and then I just upload that into Meshy.ai, and it just goes ahead and makes it for you. And this is what it spat out. And pretty good, but you can see what I'm talking about with the lighting. You can see this side of the Corgi is much darker than this side, but whatever, that's fine. But the topology and stuff is pretty awesome. And if you want to do something like animate it and have it walk, make sure you tell it to stand up or something, because when it's sitting down, it's going to be weird. I mean, obviously, if you buy Pro, you can like redo it, get more polygons, all that stuff. But for free, pretty good. You have a certain amount of free credits you can get, and you just download that as an FBX or a GLB. The GLB comes in with the material and stuff, everything. But what I will say is when you bring in a GLB, whenever you reopen the file, basically the way it works in C4D is it kind of caches it, but then it forgets where it is. So you have to reconnect your textures every time. It's pretty stupid. Unless you save it with assets or something. But Normally you can find it pretty quick and just replace that. So once we have that, we just brought it in. And then to do the hair, obviously I just went to Redshift Hairs. We have 1.5 million hairs. I did the low segments because I didn't want to do much to it. The main thing and the cool thing with Redshift is it uses all the hair attributes from this. So we just double click our hair attributes here. We've got that texture driving the color. So we just plug that texture map in that it provided from Meshy. And that's pretty much it. So then we have specular, all that's fine. The thickness, you want to make it really small. Really small, it gives you those nice little whiskers. And it's really small to even smaller. And then on top of that, even smaller. And so a little bit of frizz, I think, helps with puppies and stuff like that. Clump, we can increase the clump more. Like, let's go ahead and do an example where I maybe increase the clump amount even more. Clumping, it's fine, all that. There's a lot of things, and that's all hair. So then on top of that, you just want to throw a Redshift object tag on it. You don't have to, but throwing the Redshift object tag on it does help the hair render out a little faster with Redshift. There you go. So with the clumping turned up, you can see we get a lot more of these natural little clumpies. So it looks like he's just been dried off or something. Kind of great. Obviously, if you add more in your hair, you add more segments, you're going to get more diversity and stuff in that. But I mean, then I just took I had my hair selected and I took the tools here and I went to, I think it's in tools. It's probably somewhere else actually. It's in simulate. And you go down here, the hair objects, hair mode, hair edit. And what I did with the hair tools, which is not under tools, it's under simulate. Hair tools, I went down and I just cut around his nose and his eyes. And then I made some spheres and tossed them in and a little pinkish nose and threw it in on top. There you go. But yeah, dish the puppy. So pretty easy, like nice little workflow. Obviously, you could do a lot more detail with it and stuff, but it's cool to like, I know some people that like will use AI to kind of like make it mesh, base mesh, and then from there take it into like ZBrush and really fill it out and make it look cooler and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, pretty easy way to come in and get something cool, like maybe just something on the background or something like that. If it's ever going to be like your pure focus object, you're probably going to want to pay for the structure. But so you can see inside of Meshy, it gives you triangles. I believe with the Pro version, you can actually fix that and set it to quads if you want. So, food for thought for creating something, at least for filler concepts, like for concept work. You're like, you should plug things in before you model it for real. If you just want to plan it out and get some ideas, maybe that's a cool way to think about it. All right, lastly, don't forget to vote. Write rain or write grass for what you want next. Don't write both. I'm talking about what you want to do next. Do you want the rain simulation here or the anime grass? All right, thanks for watching. See you next time.